One Piece is a fun pirate adventure with rubber punches, until it isn't. Oda's real genius isn't the fights, it's writing backstories so dark they actually keep you up at night. Today we aren't just looking at sad moments, we're looking at the absolute darkest, most traumatic nightmares in the series. Let's kick this off with Brook, because behind all the skull jokes, his backstory is pure nightmare fuel. His entire crew wasn't just killed, they were poisoned, and he had to watch them drop one by one. But here's the kicker. Brook ate the revive fruit, so he came back to life. Except, his soul got lost in the fog for a year. By the time he found his ship, his body was just bones, and his friends were rotting corpses. So for the next 50 years, Brook is completely alone. No human contact, no sunlight, just fog and his own dead crewmates. He played a tone dial recording of their final song every single day just to keep from losing his mind.
Gather up all of the crew, it's time to ship out Binks's crew.
50 years of solitude, that is psychological torture on a level I can't even process. Then there is an 8-year-old demon. Robin's story is basically a tutorial on how to destroy a child's life in 24 hours. She grew up on Ohara, an island of scholars who just wanted to read history. But the world government decided that knowledge was too dangerous. So they didn't just arrest people, they triggered a buster call to commit genocide. Robin was 8. She watched her mom get shot, her mentor executed, and her entire home burned to ash. And the government's response? They put a 79 million berry bounty on a second grader and branded her the Demon of Ohara. For 20 years, yes, 20 years, she was told she didn't deserve to live. Everyone she trusted either betrayed her for money or died protecting her. Imagine growing up believing your existence is a crime. That's not just sad, that's soul-crushing. Now, if we move from God to garbage, Doflamingo is a monster, no debate. But his backstory explains exactly how that monster was made. He started as a celestial dragon, a literal god status. Then his dad decided to have a conscience and give up their status to live like normal humans, which was literally a terrible idea, or must I say the huge mistake. Because the second they left Maria Joie, every person with a grudge against the dragons, which is basically everyone, was waiting for them. They were beaten, set on fire, and forced to eat garbage just to survive. Doffy went from heaven to hell overnight. The trauma twisted him so badly that at age 10, he shot his own father and brought his head back to Maria Joie to try and get back in. When they rejected him too, he decided to just burn the whole world down. Literally feel sad for him. Now buckle up, because Kuma's story is just pain on top of pain. He started life as a slave because of his bloodline. The celestial dragons worked his mother to death and shot his father right in front of him. But the irony? His dad died singing about Nico, the sun god, believing in a savior who would free slaves. Kuma eventually escapes, becomes a king, and finds happiness with his daughter, Bonnie. But because Oda hates Kuma, Bonnie gets a fatal disease. Whereas the only cure, a deal with the devil, or rather, the world government, they demanded he become a cyborg weapon and have his entire personality erased. Kuma agreed to everything to save his daughter. He literally signed away his soul. And his reward? The celestial dragons now use his mindless body as an invincible slave to ride like a horse. He gave up his humanity for love, and they turned him into a rental car. Absolutely brutal. I am sorry, bro. Law's backstory is basically survivor's guilt on steroids. He grew up in Flevence, where everyone was slowly being poisoned by amber lead. The government knew it was killing them, but kept it quiet for profit. Classic, isn't it? When the people started dying, the government massacred the entire town to contain the disease, even though it wasn't contagious. 10-year-old Law watched his parents get murdered and his sister die in a burning hospital. But how did he escape? Well, he hid in a pile of corpses and was carried out of the city. Can you imagine that? A 10-year-old holding his breath, buried under his dead neighbors and friends. He was so broken that he actually wanted to destroy the world before he died. However, the only person who saved him was Corazon, who was then shot to death by Doflamingo while Law listened from inside a crate. That's why he has Corazon tattooed on his chest. It's a permanent memorial to the only person who loved him. To be frank, this one hits different because at first glance, Pink just looks like a weirdo in a diaper, but the context destroys you. He had a wife, a Russian, and a baby named Gimlet. After their son died, Russian found out Pink was a pirate. She ran away in shock, but a landslide hit her, leaving her in a permanent vegetative state. However, Pink visited her every day, feeling terrible. She never moved or spoke, until he tried on his son's baby bonnet. Suddenly, she smiled. It was her first reaction since the accident. So this tough gangster started dressing like a baby all the time. He didn't care about looking silly. He did it because it was the only thing that made his wife smile. That is truly heartbreaking, bro. Nami's backstory destroys me because it wasn't just one bad day. It was 8 years of mental torture. You know what happened to her adopted mom? I won't go into those details, but then it gets twisted. Arlong sees Nami's map-making skills and enslaves her. He tells this 8-year-old, "If you bring me 100 million berries, I'll free your village." Nami spent her entire childhood stealing, starving, and being called a traitor by the villagers she was secretly trying to save. And when she finally gets the money, Arlong sends a dirty marine to confiscate it. Actually, from day one, he never planned to free her. He was just toying with her hope. That scene where she finally breaks down and stabs her own arm, that isn't just sadness. That is 8 years of rage finally exploding. Oden's tragedy isn't just about dying. It's about humiliation. This guy had it all. Legendary strength, sailed with Roger, beloved by his country. Then Orochi and Kaido took over. They offered him a deal. Dance naked in the streets every week for 5 years, and we'll spare the citizens. So Oden did it. For 5 years, this proud samurai made a fool of himself to save lives. He let his reputation rot. But it was a scam. Orochi just used that time to build an army. When Oden finally fought back, they sentenced him to death by boiling. He stood in boiling oil for an hour, holding his retainers over his head to save them. And after surviving that, Kaido just shot him in the head. He died knowing he failed his country. His wife was murdered, and his kids were orphans. That is a brutal fall from grace. Sanji didn't just get one tragic backstory. He got a buy one get one free deal on trauma. First, his dad, Judge, locked him in an iron mask and told the world he was dead. He escapes that hell only to get shipwrecked with Zeph. They were stranded on a rock for 85 days. Now, if you only watch the anime, you miss the real horror. In the manga, Zeph didn't lose his leg to a chain. He took a rock, smashed his own leg off, and ate it so he could give Sanji the only bag of food. No wonder the guy treats food like religion. This one is straight-up psychological horror. Kyros was a happy father and husband. Then Sugar turned him into a toy soldier. But the side effect of her power? Everyone forgets you exist. His wife forgot she had a husband. His daughter, Rebecca, forgot she had a dad. Kyros had to watch his wife get murdered right in front of him, and he couldn't even cry because, you know, he was just a piece of tin. Yeah, sadly, he spent 10 years raising his daughter as a toy, and she had no clue she was talking to her father. Imagine being erased from history and forced to watch your family suffer from the sidelines. That is a fate worse than death. Putting story isn't about physical torture. It's about emotional destruction. She was born with a third eye, and her purpose was solely to read poneglyphs for Big Mom. She wasn't a daughter, she was a tool. And Big Mom, Mother of the Year candidate, told Pudding to her face that her eye was creepy and hideous. Imagine your own mother calling you a freak and telling you to cover up your face because she can't stand looking at you. However, Pudding developed a twisted, evil split personality just to cope with the abuse. She was taught that her only value was being useful, and even then, she was disgusting. That messes a kid up for life. Yamato witnessed Oden's execution and decided to inherit his will. Kaido's response to his grieving child? Great. Here are explosive handcuffs. He told her that if she ever left the island, her arms would literally blow off. Then he threw her into a cave with starving samurai, fully expecting them to eat her alive. Instead, those samurai gave Yamato their only food and broke out to die fighting Kaido, just to keep her safe. Yamato spent 20 years grounded. But not normal grounded from any angle, by the way. We're talking imprisoned on an island with a bomb on your wrists grounded, beaten by her father, starved, and chained up for 2 decades. And she still never stopped being Oden. That is some serious willpower. If we move towards Koala's story, well, that is truly terrifying because her trauma was a survival instinct. In Marie-et-Joie, if you cry, they kill you. So she forced herself to smile constantly, even when the Sun Pirates freed her from the Celestial Dragons. She kept frantically scrubbing floors with a frozen smile on her face, terrified that if she stopped, she'd be executed. And the ending? Fisher Tiger, the fishman who saved her, eventually died because he refused a blood transfusion from a human. His hatred for humans, caused by his own slavery, was so deep, he chose death over human blood. Koala had to watch her hero die, knowing that the trauma her people caused him was what killed him. That is a special kind of painful. Big Mom's backstory is straight up a horror movie disguised as a Disney cartoon. She was abandoned by her parents for being too strong. Then, at her 6th birthday party, she was so happy eating semla that she cried tears of joy and ate everything in sight. But when she opened her eyes, the table was empty. When she opened her eyes, Mother Carmel and the other orphans were just gone. But suddenly, Linlin had Carmel's powers. The plain truth was, she ate them. She ate her entire family during a hunger blackout. To this day, she still talks to Carmel's photo, wondering why she left. She has no idea that she committed cannibalism as a child. That is just heartbreaking. Franky started as a kid, just building Battle Franky warships for fun. But then the government stole his ships and used them to frame his mentor, Tom. Imagine that guilt. The ships you built were used to sentence your father figure to death. Franky was so desperate to save him that he tried to stop the sea train with his bare hands. Spoiler alert, the train won. He was mangled so badly that he had to rebuild his own body with scrap metal in a cave just to survive. So, from accidental cannibalism to 50 years of isolation, which one of these actually broke you? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the pain, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive.